Hey, what's up, guys? It's Gabe with NerdTech. I'm in my real estate wholesaling CRM account, and I wanted to just demonstrate more closely how I do the demo or the Dispo process for my leads. So we're going to click into opportunities here, and I have multiple different stages. I go over these in different videos, but I'm going to start in the seller leads. I'm not going to go over the first part in this detail, but after we have the contract signed, we'll either upload it because it's in person, or if we're using the e-contract signing, then we'll get notified by email. Then we will move the lead from signed contract to send to Dispo. Let me go ahead and create a test here real quick so you can see what happens and refresh. All right, so we're going to use this test contact here. We're going to move it to sign send to Dispo. This would be differentiating from going to seller leads hot, which is our acquisitions pipeline. The reason I call it seller leads hot is because it is the hot leads, and I have the follow-up leads to keep those organized more clearly. Now, when I push this to send the Dispo, it's going to push it to the Dispo pipeline, and it's going to land right here. All right, for whatever reason, the system's a little slow, so just had to wait for that to populate here, but we have it in the Dispo to close pipeline stage now. And what happens is it goes to finding buyer. Now this is just a holding spot so that we know we have a seller, we have a contract signed, and now we're just waiting to find the buyer. Now this is strictly for wholesale. If you are going to buy this yourself, keep it as a rental, take it down for rehab, then we don't need to keep it here. We can just move it on over to into escrow, and then we can send the title company their paperwork to start the closing for this. But for wholesale, we're going to keep it here. And then what happens is we would create a task for our VA, and that's how we do it, to create the marketing blast and the text blast. So when we click into the opportunity here, I have a section called marketing details. I would fill this out: wholesale, access instructions, lockbox, just do 222, and we'd add our pictures link. Okay, I would add a description about this property. Maybe it needs full rehab, whatever I want to say about it, whatever I'd want to send in the SMS and email. What our target sales price would be, where maybe we have it under contract for 100. We're going to market it for 110,000. I'd put that here, and that's all I would do for now. Don't worry about this until I come back to that later. Now, I would fill this out. The VA would come here, and they would know exactly what to put in the email blast that we send to buyers. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to marketing, and they're going to go to emails and templates, and then they'll pick one of our cash buyer templates here. We would click on create campaign, which means we're going to use that template. And then we have the template here, so we're going to remove this placeholder information. We're going to put the actual information for everything about the property, including photos, access, description, everything. And then we can change this up if we want to. Then what we're going to do, we're going to click on send and schedule. We can schedule it out, or we can do send now. And even when you do send, if you're just starting, what I would suggest doing is batch. And what batch does is it gives you a time to start on, and then it will do, say, 50 emails repeat after 1 hour. So that kind of drips them out slower, so you're not sending too many at once. Keeps email reputation good. Choose the days. If it's a big list, then it's going to run multiple days to send it all out. So you would tell it when to start and end every single day. Fill out the sender information. You do want to set up a subdomain, a dedicated email, which is a subdomain in your email settings. Make sure that's set up first. It's going to increase deliverability, and I go over that in another video as well. Subject line, preview text, just previews what's in the body. That's optional. And then you can send it to what I do is a smart list. You could do a segment also if you had a segment based off of different engagement types, or you could build a segment based off of tags. Choose a tag. I send to a smart list, and I have a smart list called buyer. And then I would send it to all my contacts. Since it's a demo account, there's only 3 contacts there. And then I prefer to track clicks as well. That's all I turn on. Then we would do review and schedule, and we would be able to send this. Now, once it sends, you do get email stats right here, statistics. You can look to see how your campaign's doing. So pretty neat. And then if we get people that are interested, we're going to go back to opportunities, and we would click on the seller. We would go to marketing details. I'm going to click on clone and then update. And what this is going to do is it's going to clone all the property information on this opportunity card, and it's going to create a buyer card. Okay. And then all we have to do is change the contact because it clones everything over. So I'll show you how that looks. All right, so when it duplicates the seller card and it moves it to potential buyer, all we have to do is click into here, change the contact, click update, and then we'll refresh. Okay, so now when it clones the seller card over here, you can see says remove contact. So what that means is we just need to click into here. We need to change it to whatever our buyer contact is. You can search all your contacts to find whoever that buyer was that reached out by email. And you don't need to update this, it'll update automatically. Just change the contact, click update, and then we'll click refresh. And after a refresh, we can see that updates it to buyer name. In this case, we have Janet Jackson. And so now that we have potential buyer here, we would keep track of our buyer showings. Now, not everybody does this. You can add all of your potential buyers here to keep track of that, or you can just add your buyer here whenever they're ready to sign the contract. We like to track all of our interested buyers so that we know which properties they're interested in. If we get any other properties in similar areas, we're more likely to contact those first, but it's not really something you have to do. If you just track the buyers that are ready to sign, you can move them to buyer negotiations. You don't have to track the showings, and you can also automate sending the contract by connecting the contract information. We do that by filling out this information here and then selecting whether we want a PDF or e-sign contract. And then we have an automation on the back end that when we slide it over, it will actually sign that, or it will pre-fill and send that contract to be sent as e-signature to our buyer, which is super helpful. Then once the buyer does sign the contract, we are going to move it to in escrow, and then we would also move the seller to in escrow. So then we would know we have a buyer seller match to go to close, and then it would basically just wait here until it goes to closing. We do have tasks that we set, as far as sending the contracts to title, making sure that the buyer has their operating agreement and different things that they need to take to make sure they're ready for closing. And then when we move it to close, we have closing tasks as well, such as make sure you have Google reviews, reach out to sellers, send thank you cards, make sure funds hit the bank account, pay any JV partners, anything like that. So this is pretty much how we run our Dispo process. Now I'm going to back up real quick. I showed you how I sent the email blast. To do the SMS blast, it's a little bit different. It's actually simpler. So if we went to our buyer list and we wanted to text blast our buyers, I would select all buyers here and I would click on select all. And then I would go to more, send SMS. I could choose an SMS template such as this. I would just need to put in the property information here. It's going to automatically fill out the contact name to make it personal. And then I would also want to send in drip mode. And I would probably, for text messages, they're a little bit more sensitive. I would drip 1 per minute, repeat after 1 minute. I would change it like this. I would do it nice and slow and make sure we're not blasting those out because you can get flagged by carriers very quickly. So that's how we send out the SMS. Also, just general SMS guidelines, keep your messages pretty simple and vague. If you make them look too markety, if you have pictures, links in there, those do get blocked a lot of times by carriers. So I don't like to send a lot of information unless the buyer responds back and says, yes, I'm interested, tell me more. So I keep them pretty vague to begin with, and if that helps. So again, just quick overview. We go from seller leads hot and the seller signs the contract. We send it to Dispo, goes to Dispo. The seller stays here as we're finding the buyer. Then we have potential buyer, we clone it over. Each time we would have an interested buyer, we would clone every single one if we're keeping track of all of them. If we're not, and we just want to keep track of the most serious buyer, then we would just clone it 1 time or 2 times, maybe just have a couple. You're doing negotiations between the two. And then they would move to sign contract, whoever decides to move forward, in escrow, waiting for close and close. And all these different stages can have customized tasks and automations. You could send emails, notifications. You could email the title company automatically. So we can really set this up and customize it the way you need it to. So if this sounds like something that could make your life easier, please feel free to reach out. You can email me or schedule on my calendar. I always put my website in the description, which has my calendar on there, and be happy to meet with you, see how I can help. Hope this helps. Have a good day.